Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System, the podcast where three intersectional feminists examine gaming and games through a feminist lens. I'm your host for today. I'm Jem, and I'm here with my friends Alex and Matt. So before we get started, if you want to support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gaming the system for some exclusive content. Or you can send us a one-off donation via PayPal to our email address, wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com. Okay, so let's move away from financial spending and let's talk about finishing games and the idea of backlog anxiety. We've talked a little bit about having piles of books and piles of games, metaphorically, imaginary piles of games. So do you feel pressure to finish the games that you start to play?
I definitely do. In the same way as you said, Jem, I definitely feel that for books as well. I don't know how it has happened, but since university, I've stopped finishing books. Like, I find it so hard to actually finish a book. I feel it's like a really rare achievement when I actually do finish a book. And more often than not, it's non-fiction rather than... Oh, sorry, no, which way round does it? Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's changed around. So I used to read a lot more fiction when I was younger, and now I'm reading more non-fiction, which is interesting. But yeah, I definitely have that sense of why you've got piles and piles of books, and just like I've got piles and piles of games. It's a thing that came up in therapy multiple times, but I have bad feelings about the amount of stuff that I start and don't finish because it says that I can't see things through enough. But yeah, and then my therapist would ask me things like, well, what's the worst thing that will happen if you don't finish something? And got me to try and reframe it in that, what am I getting out of the experience even if I don't complete it fully? I'm still taking something away from it. So I've got to the point where even if I don't experience the proper ending of a game, you can still experience what a game has to offer for you. Sometimes you might get to that point after loads and loads of hours. Say, for example, I haven't finished the story in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but I feel like I've finished that game because I put in nearly 200 hours. And I think that's more than enough to have experienced what Valhalla has to offer. And I very much enjoyed it, but I just can't finish it. It's too much. And after a certain amount of time, the funny thing, the difference between gaming and reading is we all know how to read a book when we open it. When you go back into a game after months and months, you have to relearn the controls. So that's an interesting extra barrier to actually finishing. Is maybe it just feels all too overwhelming for lots of people because it's like an extra step that you have to go through to actually get back onto the path towards finishing. So yeah.
We've talked, haven't we, about how it would be really useful for some of the more complicated games to have a sort of refresher thing that you can do when you come in. I really liked it actually on the latest Monkey Island. They had that. So if you went away and then you came back a few weeks later, but they would start. They would do a little. So where were you?
They do similar stuff sometimes for stories. Like in The Witcher, whenever you reloaded, they'd have a little recap of where you were. But yeah, it's not quite the same for controls.
No. Yeah. What about you, Matt? How do you feel about your backlog of games? Do you have a backlog of games?
Yes, this is something that I alluded to in the last episode, that I was looking for. It's one of those areas in life where every time you come around to it, you go, oh, I need to do something. I need to do something about that, or that isn't quite right. And then you do something else. You come back to, oh yeah, that still isn't quite right. I'm going around that cycle for a while. And this has come the last few months from when I looked at my gaming record from last year and I put it all together, and it turns out I'd finished 30 games. And I looked at it and went, that's really good. That's a good amount of games. I'm a solid amount of games. If I live for another 60 years, 60 times 30, that's good. But it's in the first 2 months of the year, my mindset has twisted to be looking ahead and going, oh shit, I've been playing bloody Final Fantasy for 100 hours. That's like a month's worth of gaming. How the hell am I going to fit in another 29 games in the rest of the year? And I have to pull myself back going, okay, that's the pressure. And that's what your therapist was conveying very well, is we all feel pressures inside our heads that inform us to one degree or another in different areas. And to go, right, I'm feeling this pressure to play more games. Okay. You can say, well, the more games you play, the better. Then you go, well, if you rush through games and don't really enjoy them, does that matter more? And then it quickly, you untangle it a bit and go, oh yeah, this pressure is coming from one that tells you you're not good enough because you're not playing games well enough, that you're spending too much time on games. And so noticing that, so recognizing that bit is the first part. So, but then letting go of that side of things as well, so that I can just relax into what I'm playing. So really enjoying Final Fantasy, not thinking about the game I'm going to play next or what I'm going to play for the rest of the year. And so that's one thing I've clocked. It's taken me 2 months to properly notice it, but that's the nature of things. And so if I could just relax and not think about what I'm playing, I'd probably get to the end of the year and go, oh yeah, I played a load of games and I enjoyed them all. I enjoyed them because I was following what I felt like doing, because you never know what you feel like doing until you're doing it.
Yeah.
And so that was one element. The other element, the big element, is with Hitman. So I'll explain how Freelancer works again, which is the roguelike playing element, which is there are basically 18 maps from across the series, and you have to eliminate syndicates, and each campaign is made up of 4 syndicates, and you do 3 random missions and a showdown, 4, 5, 6. And so basically you have to complete, I think, 18 missions in a row to complete a campaign. And over the last year on my PC, I've completed 68. And all the challenges, like the trophies you get for it, I've completed all of those apart from 2 of them. One of them is collecting all of the items in the safe house 10 times. So you collect them all, and then you go up a prestige level. They all go away. You have to build up again. And I am on the final one of them. But then the other one I'm nowhere near to close to finishing is the amount of campaigns. I have to do 100 campaigns. It took me over a year to do 68. And then my original plan had been to complete all of the challenges for Freelancer, and then I would go to a modded version of Freelancer that basically expands it to 3 times the size and scale in terms of adding tons of more content to it. That when I first got my PC, I didn't know enough about modding to be able to make that work, to actually get it, to install it. And I was thinking, right, once I've got to that 100, I'll start from scratch and work out how this Freelancer variations works and start again from there. And I've been stressing for the last month going, Jesus, if I complete perfectly a campaign a day to get the next 32 campaigns completed, that would take a month of being perfect.
Yeah.
Of all of a sudden, this thing that is for me is about relaxing in the moment, or it's just about the next mission. That's as far ahead as you can think. Fuck the pressure.
Yeah.
Catastrophic, destructive pressure to go, right, you need to do this perfectly, and you can't do something different until you finish this, because that's the goal that you've set for yourself. So I was able to go, after that, once you feel that sort of intensity of that pressure, that's when that's the opportunity to go, oh shit, yeah, that's completely wild and disproportionate, get rid of that. So what I've done is started from scratch. So basically the modding landscape of Hitman is quite complicated in a way that I didn't realise before. So basically I got to a point where I can actually transfer my progress from what I'm doing currently over to this new modded version with this Freelancer variations pack. So it's literally just as if the game developers have released an update and this entire new stuff is added. That's the impact it's had. And so throw that those pressures out the window, and then I go, ooh, and I've enabled all of the extra variations on extra 30 missions, and then press play to start. Oh, this is something exciting, and then was instantly overwhelmed by the sheer amount of differences that there were.
Yeah.
Fucking proper panic that shit, this is really difficult now. Once I'd just gotten used to it.
Yeah.
But then I was able to go into, okay, so this is what I've been thinking about, thinking it would just be a simple change. And then I've been going into, there's a massive spreadsheet, a list of all the different variations. And you can literally go through it and toggle on and off the bits. So I've been able to go from adding all of them, going, I'm not doing enough, to going, okay, I can do more. I go, oh, okay, that's too much. And instead of going, right, I'll just need to knuckle down and bash my head against the wall until I get used to all of these variations. Or you can just cross the ones off the list and do the bits that you enjoy doing.
Yes.
And then go and feel your way from there. And it takes so much practice and doing that kind of thing over and over again, of going, oh yeah, pressure. If you let go of the pressure.
And reminding yourself,
It's fucking, it's mad, but it's the best way. It's the best way still, really. And it does, being the mindfulness and thinking about stuff, it doesn't make it impossible for you to feel that pressure.
Yeah.
It
just reduces
helps
it.
practice.
Yeah.
We've talked, haven't we, about playing, not feeling guilty about playing in easy mode and things like that. And I think that's all part of it. You can put a lot of pressure on yourself, and suddenly something that's supposed to be fun is more like a job and less like fun. And I think it is important to always try and bring yourself back to, this is a hobby, this is fun. Yes, absolutely set yourself challenges, but not to the point that it becomes a stressful part of your life. And I'm sure we've all been in that space at one time or another. I know I certainly have been. And I think it's difficult, isn't it, sometimes to get that balance between setting yourself a challenge, achieving something that requires a bit of discipline, a bit of effort, and it tipping over into the edge of not being fun anymore. There is definitely a grey area where something can be frustrating and annoying and difficult and require effort. But there's also a sense of real achievement at the end of succeeding something like that. And my daughter and I finally finished It Takes Two at the weekend. Yeah, and it was so nice. We hadn't played it for about 6 months since the summer, And I said to her, because it's been half term, I said, "Oh, can we maybe make some time to play?" Just because I felt like we were near the end. And she finally agreed and actually played with me, which is impressive for a 17-year-old. So yeah, no. And it was so much fun. And what was lovely about it was, unlike so many other games, we were actually just able to jump back in. And within minutes, she was saying, "Oh, look at how funny it was, how bad you are at jumping." So that was good. I didn't let her down. It was so satisfying to get to the end of it. And one of the things that I really appreciated was that the storytelling of games is so important. And I completely hear what you were saying, Alex. And I've not finished way more games than I've finished in my life. And I think you can get a real feel for it. But coming to the end of the story, finding it all tied out is a thing, and it is a value, and it has a value outside of the gaming value. It has a sort of completion of telling the story and reaching the end of that story and all the lessons that can teach you. And It Takes Two is an excellent game.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think the next one from that developer's coming out next month.
I think it's like the 5th of March or something.
Like that.
15th
So
of
it's
March.
quicker
It's
than
very,
I'm-
soon.
I'm so envious of them because it's called Split Fiction,
Yeah.
and it's about two authors, a sci-fi author and a fantasy author, in the worlds that they've created, and that is the most genius concept for a game ever. I am gutted that I didn't come up with it. So that's
I hate it when people
exciting.
did not think of that.
Yes.
But I think we have to remember that we're gaming for fun, and that always has to be the thing to come back to. And it's not about completionism. It's not about, I don't know, raw dogging. It's not about all of that stuff. It's about enjoying it and how you are spending your free time. And keeping that balance is quite important.
I've got quite a wanky saying that it's just a wanky, like, live life, live, laugh, love kind of thing, but I find it incredibly useful, is the process versus the outcome, the difference between living your life based on one or the other. Because if I do what part of me was doing, which is going, oh my God, you need to finish this, finish that, finish this, finish that, finish the prestige levels, finish more games, finish the freelancer campaigns. And then all of a sudden, all you've got is this list of destinations.
Yeah.
And you think, God, I have no idea how I'm going to get to these destinations, how long it's going to take. All I know is that I'm not there yet, and that makes me feel like shit. Whereas if you're like with Valhalla, you were on a journey through that. Going through the process of games is particularly useful because you can't skip anything. You're literally in charge of the process of doing it. And if you play it for 70%, 70 hours, you know there's still 30 to go, but you've enjoyed every step of that process, then it doesn't matter where you finish. If you're enjoying the process, then you're good. Then nothing else matters, really.
That's a thing in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 So that's my wanky bit of wisdom.
We haven't got very long left, but I did want to find out how you feel about the choices, your game choices, and how they're perceived, because there are people out there who will only play FIFA, one of the most popular games out there, because it's a socially acceptable game, because it's about football and it's perceived in a different way. There are people out there who will only play first-person shooters like Fortnite and things because that's perceived in a certain way. I think the three of us tend to like the more fantasy side and story-led games, or at least story-rich games. Do you make choices of games based on? Are there any games that you've said, I can't buy that because of the way people might perceive me because I'm playing that, or you might not want to say.
I don't think I have ever felt that way about any of the games that I've played. But I do feel like I have some bias about players that only play FIFA or only play Fortnite. I think there's a very stereotypical view of those players. While I was at uni, I remember one of my flatmates only had FIFA to play on their console. And I was like, oh, you're not a real gamer then, are you? Only teasing, just because that's what you do at uni. But yeah, in my head, I was just like, well, he's not really a proper game man like me. So yeah, there is that bias that works the other way around as well. I think it's quite interesting to think about. But yeah, I never felt bad about any of the games that I've played or bought or pressured to buy certain games because of the way they're perceived. No. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you said about a proper gamer.
Yeah.
Because there is definitely some of that. And I know
think
that
it's
I don't
almost self-informed, isn't it? Like your idea of a gamer is what you play and what you like. And it's not like what anyone else is. But,
no, exactly. And I feel like mobile games are really proper games. You're a gamer if you play just mobile games. But actually, we've talked about it on the pod. Absolutely. There are many ways of gaming and board gaming and just role playing, and all of those are all different ways of gaming. And as I earlier confessed to having spent a year playing Evermerge, I have stopped now actually because I had to go cold turkey. You, Matt, how do you feel about your choice of games?
I'm at a place where I don't have the energy to argue with people about playing. I have strong opinions about things like Fortnite. I don't understand it, and I want to. If I was king, I would ban Fortnite and anything that was free to play with microtransactions. That's my late night at the pub soapbox rant thing I would go on. But then, if someone come up to me and said, "Oh, I play Fortnite," I go, "Do you enjoy it?" And they go, "Yeah." So I go, "Good for you," and that's fine. And I find with games, like with music, you can't. Music is so special in that it's a connection to the soul, I find, with music, because it cuts through all of the artifice, the mental stuff, the subconscious stuff. It really just cuts through. And you can't choose what touches you in that way. But when you find that thing, you need to hold on to it really tight, because that thing that's the gold dust things that you need to be opening yourself to as you go through life. And I'm just find so much pleasure and comfort in the things that I like to play that I'm not bothered. I'm just not bothered. I haven't got the energy to care what people think about my gaming, because I just want to play the games that I enjoy and do the things that I like. And I want, unlike what a lot of people seem to want, I want to do what I want, and I want everyone else to feel like shit and to hate themselves and to have a miserable time. Whereas I just want to be left alone so I can enjoy myself and everyone else can enjoy themselves. I want everyone else to have a decent life where they get to do the things that they enjoy. And yeah. So yeah.
I think that doing this podcast has completely changed my attitude to my gaming experience, and I'm much more able to feel okay about it. I definitely have moments where I feel guilty about the amount of time I spend, or that I should be doing something else, or I should be, I don't know, doing something more productive. But we talked about that in one of the previous episodes, and that's a problem with our time, I think. It's a problem with the world that we live in today, as opposed to a problem that's specific to gaming. And I think talking about gaming with you guys and the pod has just been such a positive experience, because we get to talk about all the joy and the good things that gaming brings and the good things that gaming can do. And so I think it's completely changed my attitude to it, from a place of that where I associated it very much with guilt, that most of which I wasn't really conscious of, but over the years I've recognized that. And I think that now I see it as a very positive thing and a way to enact self-care for me. It is a way that I can take some downtime. And you mentioned earlier, Alex, it's just such a crappy month, and being able to disappear into another world is definitely a good way to spend time. And it's a way that, as long as you're not neglecting your friends and family or your health, it's a good way to spend your time, and it's a positive way to spend your time. So on that note, can you sum up in a few sentences each what advice you would give to somebody who's feeling guilty about their gaming, and also how your perception of gamer guilt has maybe changed over time?
I've updated my mantra of there are the things you need to do, things you want to do, and then there's everything else, which ironically comes up with the middle finger when I was trying to count that on my fingers. So I think that's good. So yeah, it's things you need to do, things you want to do, everything else. And it's very easy for the everything else to bleed into the things that you need to do. So I thought it would be good to clarify things you need to do as things that you'll die if you don't do them. Okay?
Yes.
So technically you only need to eat once a month. Technically. You need to drink every day. You need to sleep. And the Maslow's hierarchy of needs things down the bottom. And then there's things you want to do. And then as long as you go through the things that you want to do with the fine-tooth comb of going, do I actually enjoy that? Do I actually enjoy that? Do I actually enjoy that? Go through that. Then the list of things that you don't like doing or don't want to do should hopefully move further away from you. If you go, well, again, I've said the big caveat is my interactions with people are an area in my life that I have very limited in that, so that's an area. But there is a soft spot between all the people that you interact with at the moment, and if you went through this process and properly took out the woulds and shoulds and coulds of it to what you truly, genuinely would do if there was no judgment of you of any kind, that's a really difficult thing for people to imagine themselves doing because of so many different social pressures. But I still think that that's the advice that I would give to, are you doing all the things you need to do? And then what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And do that.
Yeah.
I think for me, my advice would be, first off, gaming's meant to be fun. So when it becomes not fun, think about why that is. Take time to think about the root cause of why you're feeling the guilt that you're feeling. What's causing this guilt? And try and work on that. So think about it from different perspectives. So maybe if you had a friend who was feeling bad about something they were doing, how would you talk to them about it? And treat yourself as that friend. You have to try and treat yourself kindly, and it can be hard to do. But oftentimes, probably the guilt that you're feeling isn't linked to the game itself, most of the time. And that's where I think about gamer guilt. It's hard to think about whether it's changed, because I haven't really thought about it as a thing until we've discussed it on this podcast, really. So I think for me, a lot of it is really hard to separate from the rest of the guilt I feel about all my other activities because they merge into one. And that's really linked to my feelings of my self-esteem and also my position in society as a woman, which we've touched on in previous episodes as well. And the amount of guilt that women are made to feel for just being women and like having quite a lot of caring responsibilities and things. But we have talked about that in other episodes. So yeah, I don't know if my view on gamer guilt has changed, but I know that it's linked a lot to feelings of guilt from other areas of life, I would say, and trying to separate that and trying to work on that guilt is a long and difficult process, but you can do it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you both. I would say get good, touch grass, everything
Yes.
in moderation, and be mindful. And I think those are the things that if we can do all of that, then we're fine. So, yeah, no pressure. Thank you so much for sharing with us and with everyone. And I think it's always so interesting to talk to you guys about these things. And I've learned lots of definitely taking a lot of what you both said to heart, actually, and taking it away with me. And I'm really interested in anyone who's listening to this and what your thoughts are on gaming and associated guilt and hobbies and how you balance your gaming experience in your life. And
I've just remembered one final bit of wisdom. I think Gem's had enough.
She's gone. She's gone.
Can you hear us, Gem?
Oh.
Okay, I'll start talking and see if she comes back in the mid-story. So, I don't suppose you've watched Gotham.
No, but I know of it. Yes.
Really good. There's a point where Jim Gordon, the main character, has been knocked out and drugged and been given a truth serum. And he's feeling very hazy, but is just floating.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange, the mad, not
Benedict.
Strange, not Benedict Cumberbatch one, strange little diminutive psychiatrist who runs Arkham Asylum. And so he's sat with Jim Gordon, having just drugged him. He's asking him questions about his life, and Jim's just responding with going, because I felt guilty, guilt over this, guilt over that. And just this sort of drugged truth serum going, oh yeah, this is the trauma behind why you're doing everything. And Doctor Strange goes up behind him. He's got this fabulous, big, hypnotic voice. And he stands behind him and says, Jim, I want you to imagine that I'm God.
Oh, yes.
I am all-knowing. I am all-powerful. And I absolve you of your guilt. And I take it away and taps him on the shoulder. And Jim just goes, oh. And his entire demeanour changes, his entire life changes as a result of that thing. And obviously it's because you've got this megalomaniacal lunatic drugging you and pretending to be God. But then he comes around the front and says, guilt does nothing. Love, Jim, is our guide.
That's so...
And that is absolute
that is
banger.
brilliant.
And then he reveals that he's just set the Jim strapped to a chair and Strange has set the facility to self-destruct in a couple of hours.
Wow.
And says, right, I'm afraid our time is up, and walks off.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful bit of wisdom. And it's also, I love when villains give some form of closure to their foe or something. They don't just go, I've defeated you and ride off. They go, I want to help you in this moment. And then go off. But that, so I love that.
Yeah.
It's only because I watched it today. It's just
sounds like one to watch, definitely. Yeah, I'll put it on the one to watch list.
It's very good. Shall we?
Oh, you're back.
Oh, Jem's
She's
there.
back. Hello. It's all right. It's okay. Yeah. We could have it as a little bonus. Yeah. Every Thursday. Yeah.
Cool. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.